They say love can come when you least expect it. And for Emma, that couldn't be more true. Emma was the kind of woman who carried sunshine with her wherever she went. She was thoughtful, full of life, the kind of person who left little notes of encouragement for her coworkers, who always asked the barista how their day was going, and who dreamed, deeply, of one day building a family where love was at the center of everything. And then came Ryan. Ryan wasn't just another man she met by chance. He was the man who made her laugh so hard she forgot the stress of her day, the one who looked at her as if she was the only person in the room, the man who, for the first time, made her believe she had truly found her forever. Every moment they shared felt like a movie. The way he opened doors for her, the way he listened, not just to her words but to her heart. Ryan wasn't perfect, but he seemed perfect for her. He was charming, attentive, and he carried a confidence that made Emma feel safe, like she had finally found home in someone's arms. But here's the thing about life. Sometimes the picture that looks flawless on the outside is hiding cracks beneath the surface. And Ryan was holding on to a secret, a truth he wasn't ready to share, a truth that could break everything Emma believed about him. Because while Ryan made Emma feel like the luckiest woman alive, deep down he was terrified. Terrified that if she knew the whole story of who he was, she would never look at him the same way again. Emma, blinded by the beauty of their love, had no idea. To her, Ryan was honest, genuine. The man who made her think of wedding vows, a little white house, children running around the yard, and growing old together while holding hands on the porch. She believed she had found her once-in-a-lifetime love. But behind Ryan's warm smile and sweet words was a hidden truth he prayed she'd never discover. And when secrets live too long in the dark, eventually, they find their way to the light. Because what Emma didn't know was that Ryan wasn't entirely who he claimed to be when they first met. And that truth, the one he thought he buried, was about to come back in a way that could destroy everything. So the question is, what happens when the person you love the most turns out to be hiding something that could shatter your trust forever? Stay with me, because what starts as the most beautiful love story is about to take a turn Emma never saw coming. After their very first date, Emma walked home with a smile she couldn't wipe off her face. It wasn't just that Ryan was handsome or that he paid for dinner without hesitation, it was the little things. The way he remembered how she liked her coffee, extra cream, 2 sugars, right? He had said with a grin. The way he asked about her dreams, not just her job. The way he laughed at her corny jokes, as if each one was a treasure. Soon, those moments grew into something deeper. They spent Saturday mornings walking through the park with coffee cups in hand, pointing out dogs and children playing, imagining what their own family might look like someday. On late summer nights, they'd sit in Emma's car long after the movie ended, just talking as if neither of them wanted to let the night be over. Ryan would say things like, "One day, I'm gonna buy you a little house with a porch swing. You'll sit there with a blanket, and I'll bring you hot chocolate every night." And Emma would laugh, resting her head on his shoulder, whispering, "That sounds perfect." For Emma, it was more than love. It was the beginning of a dream. She told her best friend, Sarah, that she could see herself marrying Ryan. Sarah teased her, "Slow down, it's only been 6 months." But Emma would just smile and say, "When you know, you just know." And Ryan? Well, Ryan seemed to be everything Emma ever prayed for. But here's the thing. When someone builds their future on top of a secret, it's like building a house on sand. It may look strong, but one storm is all it takes to knock it down. And Ryan knew, deep in his heart, that the lie he carried was like a storm cloud always hovering above their love. He convinced himself it didn't matter, that it was in the past, that Emma didn't need to know. But secrets have a way of growing heavier the longer you carry them. And Ryan's secret was about to collide with Emma's picture-perfect vision of their future. As if she would find out. 4 months, everything between Emma and Ryan looked like a love story straight out of a movie. They had inside jokes, matching coffee mugs, even a little playlist they called Our Songs. Emma believed she knew everything about Ryan. His favorite food, his childhood memories, his quirks, like how he couldn't fall asleep without the TV playing softly in the background. She thought she knew his heart, but what she didn't know was his past. One evening, Emma and Ryan went to a friend's housewarming party. The living room was filled with laughter, the smell of barbecue wings, and the sound of old 90s hits playing from a Bluetooth speaker. Ryan had his arm wrapped around Emma's waist when a woman walked in, someone Emma had never met. The moment the woman saw Ryan, her smile dropped. She froze, and Ryan, his face went pale. Emma noticed immediately. "Ryan, do you know her?" she asked quietly. The woman gave a bitter laugh. "Oh, he knows me all right." She looked directly at Emma and said, "I hope he told you why he walked out on his fiancée 3 years ago." Emma's heart stopped. Fiancé? She looked at Ryan, searching for his denial, for an explanation. But Ryan just swallowed hard and looked at the ground. "Ryan, what is she talking about?" Emma's voice cracked, fear bubbling up in her chest. The woman shook her head. "Wow. He didn't even tell you." Her tone softened, but it carried the weight of disappointment. "Good luck." With that, she walked away, leaving silence heavier than words could bear. Emma stepped back, her eyes filling with tears. "You were engaged? You lied to me?" Ryan reached for her hand. "Emma, please, it's not what you think. I didn't mean to keep it from you. It was a mistake from my past. I was young, I panicked, and I left. But that's not who I am anymore. Please, just let me explain." Emma pulled her hand away. "Explain? You let me dream about our future, about marriage, when you couldn't even be honest about your past. You made me believe I knew everything about you, Ryan. And now, I don't even know who I'm in love with." The room spun for Emma. Every laugh, every kiss, every promise suddenly felt tainted. She excused herself, rushing out before the tears could fully fall. That night, Emma sat on the floor of her apartment, knees pulled to her chest, sobbing into her hands. How could he do this to me? Was any of it real? Her phone buzzed again and again, Ryan calling, sending messages begging her to talk. But Emma couldn't. Not tonight. Not when her heart felt like it had been shattered into 1,000 pieces. Because in that moment, Emma didn't just feel betrayed. She felt humiliated. She had told her friends, her family, that Ryan was different. That he was the man she could trust with her future. And now, that trust was gone. Ryan, on the other hand, sat in his car that night gripping the steering wheel, his head pressed against it. For the first time, he realized he might have destroyed the one thing he never wanted to lose. But the question was, would Emma ever forgive him? Or had his lie cost him everything? And as Emma cried herself to sleep that night, one thing was clear: this was only the beginning of their rift. Because tomorrow, things were going to get even worse. The next morning, Emma woke up with swollen eyes, her pillow still damp from tears. Her phone lay on the nightstand, filled with unread messages. Ryan had called, texted, even left voicemails. But Emma couldn't bring herself to press play. Not after last night. Not after learning that the man she thought she knew had hidden such a huge part of himself. At work, she tried to smile, tried to go about her day as if nothing had happened. But her coworkers noticed. Sarah, her best friend, pulled her aside in the break room. "Emma, you okay? You look like you didn't sleep." Emma hesitated, her voice trembling. "Ryan lied to me, Sarah. He was engaged before. He never told me. I found out from someone else." Sarah's eyes widened. "What? And he just never mentioned it?" Emma shook her head. "I feel so stupid. I told everyone he was different, that I could trust him. But if he could hide something like that, what else is he hiding?" Meanwhile, across town, Ryan sat in his apartment staring at the empty coffee mug Emma used to drink from whenever she stayed over. The silence in the room was deafening. He dialed her number again. This time, she picked up, but said nothing. Ryan's voice cracked as he spoke. "Emma, please, just let me explain. I never told you because I was scared. Scared you'd think I was unworthy of you. Scared you'd walk away before we even had a chance. I know I hurt you, and I can't undo that. But I swear to you, everything I feel for you, it's real. Please, don't shut me out." Emma's lips trembled as she held the phone to her ear. She wanted to believe him. She wanted to run back to the man who once made her feel so safe. But the pain was louder than her hope. With tears streaming down her face, she whispered, "I can't do this right now," and ended the call. Days turned into weeks. Emma ignored Ryan's attempts. Flowers at her door, handwritten notes slipped into her mailbox, texts left on read. Ryan began to spiral. He stopped showing up to the gym, skipped lunches at work, and lost focus in meetings. Friends noticed, but he brushed them off. The truth was, without Emma, he felt like he was slowly losing himself. And Emma? She tried to move on, tried to convince herself that walking away was the right choice. But late at night, she'd lie awake replaying the sound of his laugh, the way his hand fit perfectly in hers, the promises they made under starry skies. Her heart battled her mind. Was his lie bigger than their love? Or was love never enough when built on broken trust? Neither of them had answers. All they had was silence, and the ache of what they had lost. But here's the thing about love. When it's real, it refuses to die quietly. And even in their silence, both Emma and Ryan knew deep down, this wasn't over. Because Ryan was about to make a decision that would change everything. And soon his fight for redemption would begin. Ryan reached a point where the silence was too much to bear. He couldn't keep living in regret, watching the woman he loved slip away because of a choice he made years ago, a choice he kept buried out of fear. One night, after ignoring dinner with friends and leaving work early, Ryan sat in his car in an empty parking lot. The hum of the engine was the only sound. He stared at his reflection in the rearview mirror and whispered to himself, "You can't keep running. Not anymore." For the first time in years, Ryan decided to face his past head-on. The next morning, he picked up the phone and called the one person he had avoided for too long, his ex-fiancée, the woman he had once walked away from without explanation. When she answered, her voice was cold, but Ryan didn't back down. "I need to apologize," he said, his voice steady but filled with shame. "Not for Emma. Not to get anything from you. But because I can't move forward without making this right." There was silence on the line, followed by a sigh. "Do you have any idea what you put me through?" she asked, her voice trembling with restrained anger. "I do now," Ryan admitted. "I was a coward. I thought leaving was easier than admitting I wasn't ready. I hurt you in ways I can't take back. And I know I don't deserve your forgiveness. But I needed to say I'm sorry. I've carried the guilt for years, and it cost me the woman I love now." For a moment, neither spoke. Finally, she said, "I don't know if I can forgive you. I hope you're telling the truth, because she deserves better than the man you were with me." And then she hung up. Ryan sat there, tears stinging his eyes. It wasn't forgiveness, but it was a step toward closure. From that day forward, Ryan made a vow to live differently, to live honestly, to prove to Emma, not through words, but through actions, that he could be the man she once believed in. He started small, volunteering at a local shelter, showing up on time at work, taking care of himself again. Every night, he sat at his kitchen table writing letters to Emma. Not the kind begging her to come back, but letters where he owned up to his mistakes, shared his growth, and promised nothing except honesty. He never even knew if she read them. Sometimes he left them at her door. Other times he mailed them with no return address. In one letter, he wrote, "Emma, I lied because I thought hiding the truth would keep me from losing you. But in doing that, I lost you anyway. I don't expect forgiveness. I only hope you see that I'm trying to become a man worthy of your trust, even if that means you never choose me again." Emma would read these letters in silence, sitting on her couch with tears streaming down her face. She told Sarah, "He's not asking for me back, he's just showing me who he is now. And part of me still loves him." But Emma's fear was stronger than her hope. She had been hurt once. Could she risk being hurt again? Months passed. Emma and Ryan lived separate lives. Yet somehow, fate has a way of bringing people back together when they least expect it. Because one day, when Emma wasn't looking for Ryan at all, she would find him. And what she saw would change everything. It had been months since Emma last saw Ryan. She told herself she was moving on. She threw herself into work, joined a weekend book club, and tried new hobbies just to fill the silence he once occupied. But the truth was, every time she walked past their favorite cafe or heard one of their songs on the radio, her heart still ached. One Saturday, Sarah convinced Emma to attend a community event at the local park, a fundraiser for a neighborhood shelter. Emma agreed, mostly because she wanted a distraction. The park buzzed with laughter, food trucks lined the street, and children ran around with balloons tied to their wrists. As Emma strolled past a booth, her eyes suddenly froze. There he was, Ryan. But he wasn't the Ryan she remembered, the man who was desperate for her forgiveness. This Ryan stood confidently at the shelter's donation table, sleeves rolled up, handing out meals to families in need. His face was lit with genuine kindness as he knelt down to hand a plate to a little boy who clung shyly to his mother's hand. Emma's breath caught. For a moment, the world around her faded. She saw him laugh with the children, gently pat the boy's shoulder, and then turn to help an elderly man carry bags to his car. He wasn't doing it for attention. He wasn't pretending. This was a man living differently. Sarah noticed Emma's frozen stare. "Emma," she whispered, "are you okay?" Emma swallowed hard. "That's Ryan." Ryan eventually looked up, and their eyes met. For a split second, time stood still. The weight of their history, the love, the pain, the betrayal, it all hung between them in that single glance. Ryan hesitated, unsure if he should approach. He didn't want to ruin the progress he had made. But he also couldn't just ignore the woman who still had his heart. He walked over slowly, his hands slightly trembling, and said softly, "Hi, Emma." Her throat tightened. "Hi." There was so much she wanted to say, so much she wanted to ask. But all she could do was stand there, stunned by the man in front of her. Ryan broke the silence. "I didn't expect to see you here. I've been volunteering with the shelter these past few months." His voice was gentle, honest. No excuses, no rehearsed lines. Just truth. Emma looked down, then back at him. You look different." Ryan nodded. "I am different." He paused. "Not because I want to win you back, but because I had to change for me. For once in my life, I had to stop running from who I was." Emma's chest tightened. She could see it in his eyes. He meant it. He wasn't the man who hid behind charm anymore. He wasn't the man who lied to protect himself. He was raw, vulnerable, real. But love is complicated. Emma's heart raced with old feelings, yet her mind reminded her of the pain. Could she really trust him again? As Ryan was called back to the donation table, he gave her one last look and said, "I don't expect anything from you, Emma. I hope one day, you'll see that the man standing in front of you now is nothing like the one who hurt you." And with that, he walked away. Emma stood frozen, tears welling in her eyes. For the first time in months, she didn't feel anger. She felt something else. But what would she do with it? Because in that moment, Emma realized her journey with Ryan wasn't finished. And soon, she would have to decide if she was willing to let him back into her heart. After that unexpected encounter at the park, Emma couldn't get Ryan out of her mind. She told herself it was nothing, just a fleeting moment of nostalgia. But deep down, she knew it was more than that. A week later, she attended another community event with Sarah. And once again, Ryan was there. This time, he wasn't just helping. He was leading, organizing volunteers, directing donations, staying long after everyone else left to clean up. Emma tried to avoid him, but fate seemed to have other plans. As she carried a box of canned goods, she stumbled on a crack in the sidewalk. Before she could fall, Ryan rushed over and caught the box just in time. "You okay?" he asked softly, concern etched on his face. Emma nodded, a little flustered. Thanks." For a moment, their hands brushed as he steadied the box. The touch sent a rush of emotions through her, a reminder of what it once felt like to be safe with him. Over the next few weeks, their paths crossed more often. Sometimes by accident, sometimes by design. Ryan never pushed. He never begged her to take him back. Instead, he simply showed up, consistent, steady, patient. One evening, Emma stayed late at the shelter, helping organize supplies. Ryan was there too. They ended up working side by side in silence until Ryan finally spoke. "Emma, I know I broke your trust. I know I don't deserve a second chance. But I want you to know something. I'm not here to prove myself with big gestures. I'm here to prove myself with time. Every day. However long it takes." Emma's eyes filled with tears, but she blinked them away. "It's not that simple, Ryan. You hurt me. You made me question everything." "I know," Ryan admitted, his voice heavy with regret. "And that's why I'm not asking you to forget. I'm asking you to watch. To see who I am now. No more lies. No more hiding." Emma didn't respond, but something inside her shifted. Over time, their interactions grew warmer. They shared small conversations about work, about books, about the little things that once connected them. Slowly, Emma began to see the Ryan she had fallen in love with, but this time, there was a depth to him that hadn't been there before. One night, as they walked out of the shelter together, Ryan stopped under a lamppost and said quietly, "Emma, I still love you. But whether you ever take me back or not, I'll never stop trying to be better. For you and for me." Emma looked at him, her heart aching with the weight of everything they'd been through. She whispered almost to herself, "I don't know if I can ever trust you again." Ryan nodded. "Then I'll spend the rest of my life showing you that you can." Emma walked away that night torn between fear and hope. The scars of his lie still lingered, but for the first time, she wondered if forgiveness was possible. Because love wasn't gone. It was still there, quietly burning, waiting for the right moment. But forgiveness would not come easy. So Emma would face the moment that would decide whether their love could truly heal or break for good. It had been months since Emma first discovered Ryan's secret. Months of pain, silence, distance, and slow, hesitant rebuilding. But no matter how hard she tried to stay guarded, Emma knew she couldn't deny it anymore. She still loved him. Love, however, wasn't enough, not without truth. One evening, the shelter hosted a small appreciation dinner for volunteers. The tables were set with paper plates and string lights hung overhead, giving the room a warm glow. Emma hadn't planned to stay long, but she noticed Ryan across the room, laughing with some of the kids, helping an elderly woman carry her plate. He looked different, lighter, and for the first time, Emma didn't just see the man who lied. She saw the man who had changed. After the dinner, Ryan stepped outside into the crisp night air. He leaned against the railing, gazing at the stars. Emma hesitated at the doorway, then slowly walked over. "Ryan," she said softly, turned, surprised. "Hey." For a moment, silence hung between them. Then Emma took a deep breath. "There's something I need to say. I can't keep holding it in anymore." Ryan straightened, his expression serious. "I'm listening." Emma's voice trembled. "You broke me. That night, when I found out about your past. I felt like everything we had was a lie. And I hated you for it. But at the same time, I hated myself for still loving you. Do you have any idea how confusing that is?" Ryan's eyes softened, his own voice breaking. "Emma, I know I don't deserve your love. And I know I destroyed your trust. But I swear to you, everything I felt for you was real. My mistake wasn't loving you. It was being too afraid to show you who I really was. And I will carry that regret for the rest of my life." Emma's eyes filled with tears. "Why didn't you just tell me the truth? Why hide it?" Ryan stepped closer, but kept a respectful distance. "Because I was terrified. I thought if you knew I had once failed someone so badly, you'd never believe I could love you the right way. I thought my past defined me. But I see now, hiding it hurt you far more than the truth ever could." The vulnerability in his voice struck Emma's heart. For the first time, she saw no walls, no charm, no excuses, just raw honesty. They stood under the stars, their breaths visible in the cool night air. Ryan whispered, "I'm not asking for perfection. I'm asking for a chance to be real with you. No lies, no secrets, just me. And if you can't forgive me, I'll accept that. But I'll never stop being grateful for the love you gave me." Emma's tears fell freely now. She remembered the laughter, the late-night talks, the promises of a future together. And though his lie had left a scar, she realized something powerful. Scars don't mean love is broken. Sometimes they mean love has survived. Slowly, Emma whispered, "Ryan, I don't know if I can forget. But maybe I can forgive." Ryan's breath caught. He looked at her as if her words were the greatest gift he had ever received. In that moment, something shifted. The pain was still there, but so was hope. For the first time in months, they weren't standing on opposite sides of heartbreak. They were standing together, fragile but united, ready to try again. But forgiveness isn't the end, it's the beginning. And while Emma had finally opened the door to healing, the real question was, could they rebuild a future strong enough to last? Because their next choice would decide everything. Days turned into weeks after that night beneath the stars. Forgiveness was spoken, but true healing takes more than words. And Ryan knew it would take more than promises to prove his love. So he showed up every day. When Emma's car broke down, Ryan was there, covered in grease, refusing to let her pay a mechanic. When her mother fell ill, he was the first to bring groceries, sit by her bedside, and quietly take care of things Emma was too tired to handle. He didn't ask for recognition. He just showed her, piece by piece, that his love was steady, patient, and real. And Emma, she felt the walls around her heart slowly weaken. The man who had once hidden the darkest parts of himself now lived in the light, transparent and unafraid. One evening, months later, Emma was walking home from the shelter after closing up. The night was quiet, the streets glowing with soft lamplight. She turned the corner and froze. There was Ryan, standing outside her apartment, holding a small wooden box in his hands. His face was nervous, but determined. "Ryan," she whispered. He took a deep breath. "I've thought about this moment every day since the night I lost your trust. I know I can't erase the past, but I also know I don't want a future without you. So tonight, I'm asking not for perfection, but for forever." He opened the box. Inside wasn't a flashy diamond, but a simple, elegant silver band. A symbol not of wealth or status, but of honesty, second chances, and a love reborn. Emma's heart pounded. Tears blurred her vision. She remembered the pain, the lies, the nights she cried herself to sleep, but she also remembered the way he had held her hand when she was at her weakest, the way he had rebuilt his life brick by brick, not for himself, but for them. Her voice shook. "Ryan, you broke me once, but you also helped me discover a love strong enough to survive the breaking. And I don't want to waste another day pretending I don't still want you." With trembling hands, she reached into the box and slipped the ring onto her own finger. Ryan's eyes widened. "So, that's a yes?" Emma laughed through her tears. "That's a forever." He pulled her into his arms, holding her as though letting go would mean losing her all over again. And under the glow of the lamplight, their lips met, not the kiss of new love, but the kiss of a love that had been tested, scarred, and yet endured. For Emma and Ryan, trust had been shattered, but love had not only survived, it had healed. Because sometimes, the greatest loves aren't the ones without mistakes. They're the ones that choose to rise again, stronger, purer, and more unbreakable than ever before. When trust was shattered, love became their only hope. And in the end, it was enough. Moral of this story, at the end of the day, no relationship is perfect. Mistakes will be made. Lies might be told. And hearts, yes, they might even be broken. But love isn't about never failing. It's about how you choose to rise after the fall. Ryan and Emma's story reminds us that trust, once shattered, can be rebuilt, not overnight, but through patience, honesty, and consistent action. True love doesn't demand perfection. It demands vulnerability, forgiveness, and the courage to start again. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to like this video, share it with someone who believes in second chances, and subscribe for more powerful, emotional stories. And remember, love is strongest, not when it's easy, but when it survives the hardest storms. And we're not just telling stories, we're changing lives.